Hello, hello, Jamal Rashad coming to you today from Frederick, Maryland. Today I'm with the Elliott's. Richard, say hello.
So,
Melinda, say hello.
Hello.
And they have a very, very special announcement. So, ValorLives Interview Series Special Edition, and I'll turn it over to you guys. So, what's up? What's going on?
I'll let you start,
okay. Well,
but I will interrupt.
yeah. Probably what most people have seen on Facebook, and we've been splashing all over the place, is that God has kind of called on us in order to go to Bolivia. We have a friend who lives in Florida, and she has been there a few times to these orphanages and these boys' homes, and she just fell in love with it, you know. And for the probably last year and a half or 2 years, my wife and I have been kind of looking at different mission trips, thinking about where do we want to go, and we've had certain roadblocks. Like the church that we belong to, there was a waiting list in order to get to a mission trip, and then we would go online and see other organizations, and we wouldn't know them from anybody else. And we were really trying to get one that we felt was more to our heart. And that's when our friend from Florida said, why don't you come with me,
Right.
you know, and go to these orphanages, go to the boys' homes. I mean, the things that she shared with us is just incredible.
Yeah, I guess it was about a year ago.
Yeah.
I first brought up the idea of doing a mission trip. I said, God's telling me that I need to do something more than what I'm doing.
Right.
And so we went and we talked to friends of ours that we inadvertently knew. You knew, Janice, and we went and talked to them because they're very avidly involved in mission trips. And so that was the beginning. So we started conversations with them, with other people, but we didn't find what felt right. So we kind of put it on hold, and we went through another tax season, and this tax season was rough. It was a rough one for everybody. It was just very long hours, and so towards the end, it got really draining on me, and I started to wonder, you know, why, and God told me why, and he said, you need to go and do something. You need to go and take care of these children that have nothing. And I didn't know where to start. So I called my friend Amy because I knew that she had been to Bolivia before. And like he said, we had called around to churches and stuff, and it was too late to do anything for this summer. They were like, you know, you needed to sign up last winter. And I was in tears because I was like, no, I have to do this now. You know, God is telling me now. So when we talked to Amy, and she was like, we can go wherever you want. She said, I have connections, Africa, Bolivia. So we decided we picked Bolivia because we felt that's where we were being called to go.
So, what about, sorry to interrupt.
That's
I
okay.
gotta get the juicy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, of all the places in the world, what was it about Bolivia that pulled at y'all's heartstrings?
The children.
Yeah. I mean, she had photographs of the children from one of the orphanages, and they were just so tender. You know, they're just so loving. You know, they wanted to be accepted. You know, I just posted something today that said 10% of all orphans that are in Bolivia are left because of factors of mothers, you know, feeling feeling neglected, or just the peer pressures of the family saying you have too many kids, so we just go ahead and neglect them. You know, it was just, it just really tugged at us and said, you know what, this is the right place to go. This is the right place to go.
In Frederick, you see homeless people all the time. I mean, you go to any city, you see homeless people. But in the city that we're going to in Bolivia, you see 5-year-old children living under bridges alone with no adults.
And they just legalized the fact that children as young as 10 years old can work. Now, it's not like in the fields, right? It's not like here
Hardly.
where they're working at McDonald's or something like. We're talking about in the fields, manual labor, doing stuff in order to make pennies to what the United States, you know, us as individuals make. So that's why we're bringing up this cause. You know, I want to really emphasize, and it's important for everybody to know, we have paid for everything. Our flight has already been taken care of. Our food is already taken care of. We have lodging. We have transportation. Anything that is contributed by people is for the benefit of the children.
And Amy that we're going with, she's bringing her daughter Sarah, and they've paid for all of their airfare and expenses too.
Right.
So none of that is coming out of the money that we're raising. All of the money that we're raising is going directly to the children and the people. In
Medical supplies, food. They were talking about needing cooking stoves and stuff like
pencils.
that. Pens, pencils. I mean, I actually had one request from an orphanage. They wanted the little name tags to go on the back of the children's underwear because the the anchor stuff like that's rubbing through onto the next piece of clothing or whatever, and kids are getting confused and all that kind. So we're going to be making little things to go on the back of it, and that's coming out of our pocket. That's not even from the money that people are contributing.
Gotcha.
The money that people are contributing when we get down to Bolivia is where we're going to bring the love of God to everybody else and go to these different places. You know, we've already have a needs list from these orphanages, but it's expanding every single day.
One orphanage we know needs a dryer. They have a washer, but they don't have a dryer. So that's on our list of things that we're
So
working on.
about how many kids are at, well, first of all, how many orphanages, I think I said that right, plural, are you guys going to go to? How many different ones?
Well, that's something that Amy is coordinating. I know we're going to at least two, and then the village that she was from went to before.
Right now, she's looking for, because we've got the organizations we had planned on visiting, but we wanted to make the most impact. So right now, Amy is looking for orphanages, villages, organizations that are in more dire need than the ones that we're already planning on helping.
Okay.
So that we can make sure our money goes even further. So she's working out, she's got a lot of connections and she's doing the research and organizing. But once we're done with the fundraising, so to speak, we'll be sitting down and,
Figuring out where it's going to go.
because she's in Florida, but we'll be deciding how, where, and when it's going to be.
So about how many kids are at each orphanage?
I'm not actually sure what this one is. I think he gave us a list of this one. It was like 18 or something like that.
18 at the boys' home, and I don't know how many is at the orphanage.
Because he gave us a list of the sizes and stuff. Because the other thing, and again, coming out of our own pocket, is going to supply them with clothing. Right? We can't. A lot of people have said, "Can we just ship a bunch of stuff?" Right? And that was my first inclination. Right? And then to find out that the government will tax them up to 30% on any goods and services that are sent from the outside, shipped to them. So that part is out of it. And it's not taxed to us, it's taxed to the people who are receiving it. So that's a problem, right? So we have 4 suitcases, 2 each. We're going to take very light because where we're going, we have a washer and dryer, thank God.
Well, we
and
have a washer.
The rest, a washer,
we don't
okay,
know
yeah.
if we have a dryer.
Right, okay. And then the rest of the suitcase are going to be filled with all these other things like the pencils and the pens. We have a dental office, which is a client of Melinda's that is going to be donating a whole bunch of toothbrushes and toothpaste. So that's going to be all crowded on there. And then we're going to ship that with us. You know, we're going to be traveling with it. So, you know, as much as we can fit in a suitcase is great, but the real need is the funds in order to go ahead and raise for these children.
Okay. And so when are you guys leaving?
We are going to be leaving July 1st.
July 1st.
And we should be coming back on the 10th, right?
Yeah, we're coming back on July 10th. Amy and Sarah are staying for another 2 weeks.
Right,
They're coming back on the 23rd.
They're going to continue the efforts because of our children. We have 8 kids, so we got things we got to go and take care of.
We would have loved to have gone for 3 weeks,
but that is not possible.
And this is y'all's first mission trip, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And you guys have more planned for the future?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know about when you're going to be making that decision, or like do you have any places in mind, or right now it's just focused on Bolivia and then we'll worry about everything else?
I think that's where our priorities kind of lie. You know, we could come back and we could say to ourselves, this is a great location for us to do mission trips more often, you know, and we could come back and that may not be the case. But right now God is telling us we need to go ahead and help these children, you know, and you know, within scripture, one of the verses that always pops into my head is 1 John 3, right? He says, and then I'm paraphrasing this, if you have material goods, right, and you see somebody else who does not have those, is in need, right, you need to help them. That's how you spread God's love. You know, you don't do it by the words and saying, okay, I'm just going to write a check and just send it. You need to be there, you know? And again, we're not part of any organization doing this. It was a calling to us. We want to go ahead and help these individuals. And we just think that we are blessed that we live in a country that we can go ahead and then offer back to them.
Right.
So
what kind of conditions are they living in other than the homelessness under the bridge? Like, do they have family, like the whole entire families are homeless, or like they don't live with their parents anymore?
If you look at the mixture of the economies in regards to how much a family brings home, in retrospective dollars, let's say we bring home $50,000. Okay, they bring home $5,000. Okay. I mean, there's a huge amount of difference, right? Goods and services are a third of what the cost is from up here. You know, and I posted one time that you could buy a whole bunch. I think it was like 20 bags of 1 pound potatoes for the amount that you can get for $10 as a donation, right?
Okay.
Because of the costs are so cheap down there. But again, I mean, I think they say 30% of the overall country is in a poverty-stricken environment. right? So they're living in, pretty wretched areas, and people are begging all the time, and there's a lot of, theft and those type of things, and people are just trying to survive. If they're brought hope, if they're brought God's message to say, we all love you, okay, you are part of God's children, and yet we can go ahead and take care of you even in that week and a half that we are there, that may bring them to a higher standard, and to turn around and say, you know what, I can feel the fact that I'm valued. So, to go over all the different aspects of how they live down there, it's really bad. And anybody can do the research on it. It's not like one area in Bolivia is different than the other. It's really, it's pretty poor compared to what we are. We could go ahead and walk into a Lowe's and turn around and say, well, I want this GE stove or this Kenmore stove. They can't do that.
Right.
They're worried about a stove to begin with. It's just something to cook their stuff onto,
right.
And that's just a simple thing made out of wood.
Kitchen made out of cinder blocks and a pot that has soot all over
Exactly,
it, right?
In the outlying villages. And again, Amy's the one that can really attest to how these people live.
So who's Amy? You've mentioned her name a couple
Amy
times.
is a friend of ours. She lives in Florida. We've actually never met, but we have this huge connection. We have for years. We talk on the phone. We text. We talk over Facebook.
She's from Frederick too.
She's
right?
from
She's from the area, so it's not like
she's from the Frederick area.
Okay.
And she is really deep in her faith with God.
Okay.
And whenever I reached out to her once during tax season when I was struggling, and she was there for me. And she's just really somebody that I look up to. And when she offered to do this, I had a conversation with her because we talked about doing our own mission trip versus doing one through the church and the difference. And her and I connected on the same level that it needed to be more personal. I can go dig a ditch anywhere, and yes, that helps people. But I want to be able to walk up to that 5-year-old homeless kid and give them a hug and give them food and, be part of that reaction and feel it. We just need to be there.
Okay. So do you guys have a particular goal that you're looking to raise for the trip?
Well, on
I know the more the merrier. But,
right. On the GoFundMe account, I put $5,000.
Okay.
By all means, whatever God has intended for us to receive in order to deliver to the Bolivian children and their families is a blessing to begin with. We have our own money that we're bringing to it. We would definitely, whether it's the praise or the prayers, or any funds that somebody feels that they would like to go ahead and contribute. Whatever is there is there.
Too often, I'm a tax person, right? So I'm not going to lie. In the past, our tax donations, I had made sure that they were tax deductible. 501c3 all the way, get the biggest bang for my buck. Right. It hasn't been until the last couple of years that has changed. God tells us that we need to give to those who need.
Right.
Doesn't say anything in the Bible about tax deduction. Don't care. We need to give without the expectation of getting anything back in return.
And that's the epitome of selflessness.
That's why we're doing it this way.
Right. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Right?
Exactly.
So there's two calls, right? Don't put no God above me and love thy neighbor.
Correct.
So great. So any final words of so I'll put the GoFundMe in the comment links. But anything else that you want to say to the viewers about your upcoming trip?
It's not really about our up-and-coming trip. I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. Everybody goes through periods in life where they struggle. Life's not always hunky-dory, great, I'm happy. You can be miserable but still have joy in your heart because God puts joy in your heart. God puts us in certain places at certain times to meet, certain people. And He talks to us. A lot of people probably say I'm crazy, but God does talk to us.
Yes, right.
We just need to listen.
That's right.
And we are doing this because God talked to me. He talked to my heart. And He's done it several times, and I've done things for people I don't even know because as I've walked by a store, something caught my eye, and, a person that I know on Facebook that's struggling or going through a hard time, I was like, Richard, we need to buy that for so-and-so and mail it to them.
Right.
Because God, and that's coming from God, that's not coming from me.
Right.
So, God does listen. He doesn't always answer in the time or in the manner that you want Him to, but He will answer.
And again, the big thing is if your heart is really telling you that what we're doing is meaningful to those children, by all means, please contribute. And we're going to, as we're down there, post exactly, even $5. I don't care what the total is. We're going to be posting pictures and video and stuff like that when we get into the Wi-Fi areas to show you what the impact is. Mm-hmm. And then once you see the joy that this stuff is going to bring to the children, it's just going to, I am just overwhelmed with what's going to happen, and I'm leaving it all in God's hands. Last thing is, I don't fly, okay? And I'm going from Miami to Bolivia at 9.5 hours, and I don't fly. I'm putting it all in God's hands.
All right. Well, perfect. So, ValorLives Interview Series, usually I talk to people who are impacting the community. This couple is impacting the world. So, pretty cool. So, once again, I'll put all the information in the comments section. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Melinda.
You're welcome.
For spreading the word of Christ worldwide, whether it's all four corners of the world, right? Amen. So go out there, show some valor. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Talk to you next time. Bye. Melinda, say bye.
Bye.